Good morning. How is everyone doing today? Good, I hope. Sorry, I'm still getting things ready. I don't have my lights on yet. Okay. Hello, hello. Welcome to the September calendar series launch party. You're looking at January because we have gone all the way through already. Like, I can't even believe we're doing September. It's crazy. Oh, yes, Melissa. Yes, I am going away on Monday. But there's a few things that have to happen before Monday. So I'm not quite there mentally yet. All right. Is everybody ready to kick this off? I'm going to get started because after that, after this is done, I'm going to be rushing off to the store to do a whole bunch of things there. Okay. So I always sort of start the series off, the videos off with going through sort of how they work because we're always getting new people that are joining in. So, can't wait for this month and I still haven't started January. Oh, Melissa. Guys, these pages are so much fun and they really don't take that long. So I encourage you to dig them out and get going on them because once you start, you won't want to stop. It's so much fun. So the whole idea behind this is that we do create a 2-page layout. So that's what I'm showing you this because I'm putting this in an album. Although it is a calendar, I do make a 2-page spread and I put it into an album. So at the end of the year, I will have a snapshot of each month for the whole year. So I love it. I just love it. It's so much fun to do, and I love looking back at it and, seeing all the little things that we've done throughout the year. So, but some people like to put it on a calendar, an actual calendar. We sell blank 12 by 12 calendars. I keep forgetting to bring one home. I should just bring one home and have it here because each month I forget. So what you can do is you can create the bundle side, like the page, and you could put that at the top of your calendar. And then each month you flip through and you have a new layout. You can make it up and give it as a gift, or you can keep it for yourself. But I have chosen to do it in the album format. And when you do it in the album format, one of the add-ons is this calendar paper here that creates the second page. So I will go through that when I'm doing the walkthrough for September, but I'm just going to quickly flip through the ones that I have in here. There's a couple at the store, so I don't have everything, but these are the pages that we've done so far this year. Each month there's a new one. All the layouts are really different. I try to explore different techniques and different products each month. And sometimes you just sort of settle into a little groove, which is okay too. It's been a ton of fun doing, here July. So August is still at the store. And then today we're going to do September. So it's going to be awesome. I am going to plan to do a bundle that will do a title page for the year. But I have not got that done yet. So nothing to share there yet. Okay, so the bundle this month. Just so you know, it does not go live until after this launch party video. So if you go on looking, you won't find anything now. There is an icon right on the online store at the top of the page. It says calendar series. You'll click on that and then it's broken down by month. And you will see that each month has add-ons and stuff. Most of the layouts, all of them, will be sold out, except we might have just a few Augusts left. And then once they're sold out, they're done too. But all the add-on things are in there. So right now in the September category, you will see the add-ons that we've put in there. But the actual bundle won't show until after this video is over. Also, the bundles will not be ready to ship or pick up until Tuesday, October 3rd. We've ordered photos. We're waiting for them to come in. We have a few last minute things to do once we do this launch party. So the bundles will not be ready to go until Tuesday, October 3rd. So you will see your order clear out then. And then you'll be able to pick up. I'm just sort of reading comments here. What are we saying? I love July. It's beautiful. Oh, yeah, July was one of my favorites. Hope you do it again next year. Oh, that's definitely the plan. We're going to keep rolling with it. It's funny how when you try different things that you like them. I thought the Hive was kind of busy, but tried it and loved it. The Hive? Oh, like the one with the bees? Oh, I love it. 1st and 3rd August bundles. Oh yeah, so 1 July bundle is left because we made extras of those. And we have 3 August bundles left. So if you've missed out, then this is your last chance to grab those. And then they're gone. And then again, September is going to come out after this. And we do these, we keep increasing our numbers, but they do sell out. So it's kind of a one and done run. So you need to grab it when you see it. And yeah, and then you can come back and you can revisit this launch party for all of your sort of step-by-step instructions. That being said, on the bag, when we ship out your kit or when you pick up your kit, there's going to be a label on there with a QR code. You can just scan that with your phone or your tablet, and then that will take you right to this video. So you don't have to go scrolling through all of the previous videos, because those of you who haven't done January's, we've done a lot of videos since January. And if you had to scroll back through all of them to find the videos, that would not be fun. So we do put that label on there, and there's also a color photo of the finished page in your bundle as well. So this month's bundle, we are using Boho Sunshine. I am not ready to give up the nice sunny weather. September's been a beautiful month. We've had lots of sunshine and beautiful days. So we're continuing on with the sort of sunshine theme, and we've decided the Boho Sunshine collection was really fun to work with this month. So you do get a sheet of the tag paper. You get a sheet of this fabulous daisy paper. It's called Groovy. You're going to get a sheet of white cardstock. You're going to get this Wild and Free paper. We're using this side of it here. And you also get the 12 by 12 sticker sheet. I can't wait to show you guys next month. I haven't created the layout yet, but the stuff I'm working with, I'm very excited about. So that will have to wait until I get back from my trip. But I will create it as soon as I get back, and I can't wait to show you that one. So anyways, so all of this plus a color photo of the layout, and you get the QR code on the bag. They won't release until October 3rd. You can order them after the video today. All right, so now what I'm going to do is kind of go through, oh, I guess I should show you the layout. Oh, you guys want to see the layout? Okay, so here it is. Do you love it? I love it. Yay. Yes, the boho lines have been really fun. They've done a boho baby. They did the boho summer. Boho was kind of a trend there for a little while, where lots of collections were coming out that way, and we really liked it. So this is what I created. I absolutely love the tag paper. It had been a while since I had set the bundle aside for myself to create with. So when I pulled it out to see what I was working with, and I was going through the papers, and I'm like, oh, I have the tag paper. So I always love working with the tag paper. And as you can see, I've made a little photo collage here using the tag paper. And then I'm also using a stencil this month to create that sunshine on the background. So we're going to walk through how to do that. And great fun use of the stickers. And then that transfers over here. I had to add 2 more tags and a few more stickers, and then collaged my photos. So I did not plan this. Usually I sort of pick out the papers and things that I want to work with ahead of time. And then when I sit down to create, I start to look through my photos and decide which photos I'm going to use for my main page. So I'm using last year's photos because I have to kind of stay ahead of things. And we purchased e-bikes very late in the summer. So we were doing a lot of biking around Elora and Fergus, just kind of, you know, getting out on them as much as we can. And there happened to be a bicycle sticker included on the sheet. So it was not done on purpose, I swear. But it worked so well because the main part of my layout I wanted to do on us biking. And it worked out great that there happened to be a bike. So as I've said in previous months, please don't get hung up on the fact that there is a bike on the page and you're not biking. It really makes no difference. The icons and stickers and things that I use on the pages just simply reflect the time of year and things that might be going on at that time of year. So, you know, like last month, it was a very outdoor themed page. There was quotes on there about camping and mountains and so on. I mean, I happened to be on a trip to BC with my sons, and we did have some photos in the mountains, but we were not camping. But the camping photo stickers and things worked really well with the photos that I had. So I wasn't too worried about it. I don't get hung up on that, and hopefully you don't either. I certainly do not have one of these groovy vans that they're showing on this paper and stuff either, but it just really works very well with the whole feel of the layout. So yeah, so I did use some biking photos for the main thing. And then what I do for this side of the page is I just sort of do a little collage of other things that happened in the month that were kind of important. And if I do no other scrapbooking at all, which is likely going to be the case, for the whole year, at least the snapshots of the month are captured on these pages. So I had to look after Liam because Amanda had appointments at the hospital because she was pregnant at the time. So we went to a park close by the store, and I hung out at her house, and so I took some pictures that day. Obviously, racing is still a big part of our summer, and it runs into September. So the boys had come out to visit us at the track, and we got some great pictures that day. It was their first day of school. And then I bought this shirt for Owen when he was little, and now Liam is wearing it, and it says Grandma's favorite. So hopefully Olivia will wear it as well, and I can get a picture with her because then they're all my favorite. So yeah, so that's how I arranged the photos. And I'm going to run through the basic cutting instructions for you so that you can refer back to this video when you're doing your page. So if you want it to turn out like this, then you can follow along. So what I'm going to do is just sort of set the layout aside, and I'll kind of point things out as we go. All right, so let's start with this paper here. So this is called Wild and Free, and I did use that as a border along the back of your layout. So, and then I also carried that over here onto the calendar page. So if you're doing this part, you'll follow along with those measurements. If you're putting it into an actual calendar, you may have to adjust that size based on the space allowed in the calendar that you're using. So what you're going to do with this is you're actually going to cut the center out, leaving a 1-inch border. Okay, so I'm actually going to do this because this is going to end up being Amanda's calendar because she likes when I do part of her creating for her. She's very spoiled. She's probably watching. She's going to comment. Unless Olivia woke up. But I'm just going to demonstrate how I do that. So for me to do that, I have to use this style of trimmer. Normally I use a guillotine trimmer for almost all of my cutting. But I find, well, I simply can't do it with a guillotine trimmer. But I need to use one that I can sort of stop and start the blade where needed. So first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the barcode. But I just want to demo this in case people don't know how to go about doing it. So what I'm going to do is just slide the edge of the paper over to the 1-inch mark. So I have a way of measuring on this side of the cut line as well as this. So you can either go to 1 inch here, or you can move your paper down to 11 inches on this side, and that will hang this over 1 inch. And then what you're going to do is drop your blade down at the 1-inch mark on your ruler and stop at 11 inches at the bottom. Okay, so then I'm going to rotate this on all 4 sides and do exactly the same thing. And then when I'm done, what's going to happen is the middle is just going to pop right out. So I do this a lot, especially with pattern paper, because if I wanted to have that border showing around my background and I just covered up this whole thing, there's a lot of paper that's not being used. And you can certainly use it on other layouts, especially like if you have a collection pack and you want to extend the life of that. So this piece will just pop right out of the middle here. And then you can still use this for more creating. And then it leaves this piece that will go in behind the white when you cover it up. So I'll just bring this over so you can see. Okay, so in behind here is an open space. You can see all my stitching. My little tab has come off here. I'm just gonna flip that back over. So yeah, so that's how I ended up with the border piece. So now you can see you've got that window. And then just to review that again, where's my sticky note? Right here. So you're gonna cut the center out, leaving a 1-inch border. And then from this piece here, you're gonna cut a 2-inch by 10-inch piece, and that is going to be the top piece here for the calendar. So just be mindful of the direction of the pattern. If you cut it this way, your X's are going to be going the other direction. It's not the end of the world, but I cut it this way so that they're going the proper direction. Okay, so that's that paper. Just going to set that on the side. And then the next paper we're going to talk about is the white cardstock. And this one is pretty simple. You're just going to cut it to measure 11.5 by 11.5. And then that will sit right on top of the border that you just cut. And it'll leave about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Okay, so that's how I did that piece. Now we're going to come back to the white paper, so I may as well cut it down. We're going to come back to the white paper afterwards because that's where I'm going to stencil on sunshine. I'm just going to use my guillotine trimmer. It's so funny, you know, I used to use that blade trimmer all the time. And I never had a problem with it until I got my guillotine trimmer. And now, when you use that style of trimmer, it leaves, like the way the blade goes through the paper, it leaves like an edge to it. And I don't like that. I just like a straight edge. Like right now, I could not tell from one side to the other which way I cut. So I like that a lot better, and I've gotten really fussy with it. So whenever I can use my guillotine trimmer, I do. All right, so that's that. So now I've cut that down because I'm going to be doing some stenciling on that piece of paper after I go through all this cutting. So this will just nest right on top of that border piece that I cut out, like so. Okay, and it gives you that 1/2-inch border all the way around the paper. Okay, so next up, we have the floral paper. It's called Groovy. And what you're going to do with this one is you're going to cut 2 pieces that measure 1.5 by 12. So those are featured on this paper here, right on the layout. So here and here. Now you're going to have to adjust the length of them based on where you place these. So they don't stick out the other side unless you want them to. So once you kind of get them in position, one is just a little shorter than the other. And then, yeah, you're just going to stagger them like so. So I would say, where's my ruler? I buried it with my trimmer. Here it is. So the top edge of the top strip is about 5 1/4 inches or so from the bottom of your paper. Okay, so that's where that one's going to sit. And then you can kind of place the other one just underneath. They overlap by about 1/4 of an inch. And what I've done with all of the papers, the pattern papers, is I've used an edge distressor just on the edges, just to sort of scuff up the edges a little bit. And then I've added some brown ink. So I'll go through the add-ons in just a moment. But it just kind of gives it a little bit of texture and helps it stand out on the background a little bit. So I've done that to the tags and to these 2 pieces here. So that's all you're using this paper for. So you've got lots of extra. That's what the other side looks like. But if you want to add more floral onto your design somewhere, you can certainly do that. And then the last paper that we're going to be using is the tag paper. So the tag paper is really cool. You can cut these all apart and use them in many, many different ways. Simple Stories has tag paper in almost every one of their releases. So they have an extensive library of inspiration using the tag sheets. So there's lots and lots of things that you can do with them. I just love them. I think they're so versatile and you can do so many things. So sometimes I use them as tags. Sometimes I use the printed side, and then sometimes I use this side where it's plain, but it has the topper. So these are great for journaling, also for adding photos and things. I've also cut off just the toppers and just used those and had them sticking out sort of as like little tabs, which is fun to do as well. I also have taken the icons that are on the tags and used those like ephemera. So in one situation here, this one with the truck, the peace and love and happiness, I actually cut those little strips out and I used them as journal strips right here on the layout. So I look at the tags and actually all cut apart sheets in many different ways. Sometimes I look at them as a solid sheet. Sometimes I look at them all cut apart into their respective sections. And sometimes I look at them as an actual piece of ephemera that you can cut up and do different things with. So just keep that in mind when you're creating with cut aparts and the tag papers, because they have so much potential. Okay, so the tags we're going to use are the rainbow tag. So these are the tags that I'm using for my photo cluster right here. Okay, so the rainbow tag, the flower tag, the teal flower tag, so that's this one, and then the good vibes tag. So I chose all of them because they were patterned, but they didn't have any words or anything on them except for the good vibes, which then becomes part of my title. Okay, so these three had pattern, but they didn't have any text or anything on them. So they were just easy to choose and use as a backdrop. You could certainly flip it over and use tags that just have the topper, and then you could put your photo over here. But I liked the way that it looked. The background itself wasn't really busy, so it allowed me to use the pattern papers for a backdrop on my photos, which I thought worked really well. So those are the four tags you're going to use for your photo cluster. And then on the calendar side, I use two tags. Okay, so one is the reverse side of one of the tags and one is the hello tag. So the reverse of the you are my rainbow tag. So if you flip it over, that's the tag that I used right there. And then I did cut that down so that it measures 1 7/8 this way, and then 3 1/8 tall, just so that it would fit into the space that I wanted it to fit into over here. Okay, so that's that one. And then the hello tag, which is this one. So it actually runs this way if you want to read the word hello. So I used it right here. And I did cut that down to measure 3 7/8 long by 2 inches tall. Just so that it would act as a backdrop for this cluster here. So that is how I used the tag paper. And then, of course, you have a 12 by 12 sticker sheet. And I'll just point out the areas where I have used those stickers on the layout. So the border sticker I used across the top here, but I didn't use the full border. So you can just sort of decide which section you want to use. And I just used my trimmer and I just trimmed it so that it was shorter. So it's about 7 1/4 inches long, but you want to, kind of cut like right in between where one of the scallops goes. So wherever that fits for you, I used that piece there. I used the rainbow and the sunshine over here. Love these little florals and hearts. I use them in a couple of spots. A butterfly, of course, the be happy, and the bike. And then I used the banner along the bottom down here. And then for the calendar side, I added a few florals and that smiley face. Now, coincidentally, and I only noticed this after I put the smiley face on there, little Liam is wearing a shirt that has the smiley face on it too. So I thought that was really cool. but it just happened to work out that way. I did not plan it at all. Actually, I didn't even have the photos 100% selected for this side of the page. I just put my clusters in place, and then I went looking for photos, and then I found that, and I thought, okay, I have to use it. So it was a coincidence. And then I also used the van and the sunglasses here, and then I filled in with some word strips in a couple of spots as well. I love that Simple Stories gives you these word strips down here. I really wanted to use the Hello Sunshine, but everywhere I sort of placed it, it kind of it just wasn't balanced, so I left it off. But you know, you can always play around with your arrangement. I also didn't use the camera or the mushrooms, which I also wanted to work in, but sometimes things just get too busy, and it's better to do less, at least in my eyes. So so I kind of went that way. So that's how I use the stickers for the layout as well. Now, photos, I'm just going to kind of go through what I did. Photos were actually really simple for me. I only used 2 sizes. One was a 2x2. So all of the square photos that you see, so these 2, all of these, the 2 down here, those are all 2x2s to start with. Some of them, these ones here, I left them that size. These I just trimmed down a little bit just to fit into the space. And this one I trimmed off, because it wasn't centered, I trimmed it off the right side just to make more of a longer photo. And you will notice, I don't know if you can notice in the photo, but these 2 are popped up. And that really makes a difference when you're kind of looking at the layout in person. It just kind of gives it some dimension, and overlapping, I think, helps too. I've been saying, as the pages have evolved, when I first started, I was really keeping my photos inside the little squares. But as I've kind of gone through the months, I've really stepped outside that box. Some months I have more photos and I just want to get them on there. So, and I try to organize them kind of like by event. And then that way they make sense to me when I look at them. So, obviously you're not going to get all your photos that you took for the month of September on your pages. You could, by filling in all of the little squares and eliminating some of this over here. It's your crafting journey. So whatever works for you is great. But for me, sometimes balance and just the cleanliness of a page can be just as appealing. So I try to make it easy to look at. And although I don't get everything on there, I get the most important things. The other size I used was a 2" by 4" photo. So I collage my photos. I have a couple of different apps I use because they offer different photo collages. So I'll collage my photos, and I think for this one, it was a collage on a 4x6 that gave me 3 vertical photos. So they were 2" by 4", and I got 3 of them on one photo layout, and that worked really well. And I did the same thing for these, but then I just cut them off a little bit shorter so that they would fit on the tags. So I really do just play with my photos, and I'll print out a few different collages, and then I just kind of get them to work. So I don't spend too much time fussing with that. I print right from my phone directly to my printer. It just makes it really fast and easy to do. My iPhone will sort my photos by day, by month, by year, and so on. So it makes it really easy for me to go back and look up my my photos. And also I've started doing this. I did it a little bit before I climbed out of bed this morning. Our camera rolls do get really cluttered. And here's a little photo tip for you. So whether you do it daily, weekly, or monthly, you should go back through your phone and look at your photos and get rid of the ones that you're not going to use. Like, I take a lot of photos on my phone because of work and different things that I have to do on social media. So there's often pictures of, like, I don't know, store stuff, and like when I was creating this page, I would take snapshots of sections before I would clear it off and ink everything up and then go to stick it back down so I could remember how to place it. So all of that stuff really clutters up my phone. And so this morning I took time and I went back through September and I just cleared out everything that wasn't important anymore. And then I'm just left with the photos that I'm actually going to use when I want to craft. So try to get in the habit of doing it every once in a while. And then it makes it so much easier when you're going back to look for photos to print. So that's just my little tip. And I did see somebody ask about my printer. Which printer do you use and how large will it print? I use the Epson. It's a large format printer. Me giving you the model I have won't be helpful because they probably have a new model now. But it's it does 13 by 17 prints is the largest size it will do. So I love it. It prints amazing quality photos. I just started using a matte paper, so there's no gloss or anything. It's kind of like a heavyweight cardstock, really, but it is photo paper. And I just love how it looks. The photos are so crisp and clear, and there's no shine or anything to them. It's awesome. They blend in so nicely with the papers and things that I'm using, so I love it. So that's the photos. And then there are a few add-ons that I did use on the layouts that are not included in your bundle. So I'm going to run through the add-ons and I'll just sort of point them out and show you what they are. I printed out a list just for your benefit. Here we go. Okay, so enamel dots. So I did use enamel dots on the main page, just kind of in a few little clusters. So the sets that I used, just let me grab them off my tray here, are from the Concord and Ninth color release. So we have the complete lineup of Concord and Ninth enamel dots, and they match their cardstock and their papers. Now we're not using Concord and Ninth cardstock or papers on these layouts, but the colors worked really well. So the three colors I used are Sunflower, Juniper, and Sorbet. Now also Cayenne and Midnight will work well as well. So we've put all of those colors into the category for the September calendar add-on. So I think Shelby is just putting a link right now in the comments that takes you right to the calendar series for September, and you will see all of these things in there. So the enamel dots are there. I used the Simple Stories Sunburst stencil. So that is what I used for the background on the layout here. I like this one because it is sort of long and flat, and it allows you to kind of put that on the layout, and then you can stencil out from there. There are lots of sun stencils out there. You may have a sun stencil in your stash already that you can kind of look at, but that's the one we used. I did use white floss extensively. So not only did I stencil the background, I did add stitching in between the sun rays. I love to stitch. So if there's a place that makes sense for me to add stitching, I'm going to do it. So you can obviously leave that off if it's not something that you want to do. I'm going to demo how I did it. I also used white floss in all of the tags. And when I created the layout, once I was done tying the knots, rather than leaving the tails flop around, I actually put a little dab of glue and glued them in place so that they will stay where I've placed them. So I do recommend, I'll say 4 to 6 yards of white floss. I used 3 strands at a time when I did my stitching, but everybody stitches a little bit differently. And, you know, with the tags and stuff, I think 4 yards might be okay, but you might want to go a little longer and go with 6 yards just to make sure that you have enough. And Susan, I said I used 3 strands of floss this time around when I did my stitching. So the fewer strands you use, the less chunky it looks. So if you want it to be chunkier, I also chose to put my holes closer together so that the stitching looks tighter. And if you were to use all 6 strands when you do that, it's not going to look that good. So you could go down to 2 strands if you wanted to, but I went with 3 this time around. So white floss is definitely something that you'll want to pick up. Shelby just commented we sell it in 2 yard lengths. So make sure you add enough when you are shopping for the floss. So if you want 6, you're going to have to add 3 of the 2 yard lengths. It's very inexpensive, so make sure you grab enough of that. The edge distresser, I already talked about that. That's this little tool here. I also have another version, and I don't know if we loaded this into the section that I really like to use. It's from Sizzix. It's called it's a multi-purpose tool, and it has an end on it that is great for distressing as well. So either one of these works really well. I know this one is in there. I'm just not sure about this one. So maybe if Shelby has a second, she didn't add this one, you can add that one in. And then the ink color that I used is Distress Oxide Squeezed Lemonade. We put a few other yellows in the section as well. So if you're collecting other ink brands, then you can kind of use a similar yellow. I did use the Winsor & Newton white ink. So we talk about this a lot. Thank you, Shelby. A lot. So we use these for splattering all the time. So it comes as a pack of 4. I think we're down to 3 packs again, but I just ordered more. So if you go to shop for this and it's not there, just be a little bit patient because it'll pop back up. But you get all 4 colors, so black, white, gold, and silver. So I'm using the white, and if you have a look at my son, and I hope the video will show it, but there is white splatter on there as well, which it's so subtle, and it is the best product to splatter with. We absolutely love it. We have Megan to thank for that because she shared that tip with us, and we have not gone back. So it's awesome. I love it. I can't say enough about it. I've used all the colors, and we're all hooked on it. So there's that. Then I used Walnut Stain Distress ink and my trusty little ink blender. And that is used on my tags and my pattern paper on the edges. So after I distress it, I just go over it lightly with some brown ink, and it really just sort of tones it down and pops it off from the background. And I also used it on the tags for the calendar page as well. So I use that pretty much every time I scrapbook. Calendar numbers. We haven't talked about calendar numbers in a while, and this is going to vary for everybody, depending on how you position and place your photos on that calendar side of the paper. So at the beginning of the year, I was using these quite extensively. Again, it was because of the way I was placing my... Okay, I'll get to your comment in a minute, Dale. It had to do with the way I was placing my photos on the calendar page. But as my months have evolved, depending on how I place my photos, sometimes there's no room to put the numbers for the calendar. So in this particular case, I could put it here, and that's it. And to me, I just thought it looked a little silly to have just 2 random numbers floating around. So I did not put it on. I didn't use it last month either because I really had a lot of photos too. I think it has to do with the summer months. But I am still grabbing this when I do want the numbers for the calendar part. And then I would just use them anywhere that there's open space. So if you find that you have more open space, or you position your photos in a way that it allows you to put the numbers on, this is the set we're using. I know we only have a couple of these left, and then they're probably going to be sold out. Lawn Fawn also has a great set. It's called Plan On It Calendar. I don't know if we have them in stock now, but we'll try to make sure that we have calendar numbers available. But this one has been the one that I've used all year. So that is also something. And then needles for stitching, obviously, we put those in, and a foam mat to do your piercing on. This is a really old one. It's the one that I have right from the start. And we do sell one. It's blue. It's from We Are Memory Keepers, and it does the same thing. So you'll see me using that. Also a ruler, and that is for your piercing, for your stitching. And it's best if it's a clear ruler so that you can actually see where you're stitching. I gotta say, I am completely hooked on these T rulers from My Sweet Petunia, the makers of the Misty. I use this for everything. So for instance, not only just piercing my holes, because I was going to show you how I do that, but when I was lining up these September letters, you put the T along the edge of your paper and you place your ruler where you want it. And then you literally can go along and push your letters right along that edge, and they're going to be straight every single time. I do this for everything. I do it for my photos. I do it for my tag. Like I just pop this here, put this along, then I know my tag's going to be straight. Because I don't know about you guys, but I think things are straight. I walk away, I come back, and I look at it, and I think, oh my, like that's not even close to straight. So I use these T-rulers a lot. I love them. The small ones, they are designed more for card makers, and they do fit into the original size Misty. I use both sizes as a scrapbooker. Sometimes I only need the short ruler and it's easier to manipulate, but the larger one goes clear across a 12-inch piece of paper, so it's very handy to have. The large one comes 1 in a package. The small one comes 2 in a package. One is metric, one is imperial. So I can't say enough about them. I love them. Very, very good quality rulers, and they are clear, so they're going to work for what I want to do today. And then a sanding block as well. That I use, it's just a block like this. We have them in the shopping section. And I sand the edges of my photos. I don't know if it'll pick it up because it's against the white paper, so it's a bit harder to see. But I love the way it looks. Let's pull this up. Maybe you can see this one. Against the paper. It just kind of gives it almost like a little white border. When you sand your photo, the core color will show through, so it looks extra cool. So that is all the extra add-ons that I used on the pages. So now I'm going to go back and answer questions here because I saw people were typing. Do you use the ink right from the bottle or do you add water? I just use it. So what I do is I generally dip my paintbrush in some water just to moisten the bristles. I don't put it dripping wet into the bottle, but the bristles, I don't put dry bristles in. Then I shake the bottle up and dip it in, and then I splatter and go back. I personally wouldn't want to be pouring this ink out into something else to do the technique. So I just work right from the bottle and I haven't had any issues. It's been really good. And do you print your own pictures? I sure do, Heather. I talked a little bit about photos earlier on, so you can go back and watch the video. I could not imagine not printing my own photos. When I'm in the creative mode, the last thing I want to do is stop and order pictures and then wait for them to come. It's just not my style. I want it done right away, and I want it done in the size I want when I'm doing the actual project. So no matter what size I choose, I can just send them right from my phone right to my printer, and I love it. So there are lots of printer options out there. I really love my Epson. It's a large format printer. So if you want to do large photos, I say go that way. But if you're never intending to print anything more than a 4x6 or a 5x7, they do have the PictureMate 400, which is a smaller printer that you can print. It's great quality. Amanda has that one. I think that's the one that Vicki Boutin always talks about. I don't have that because I have the big printer. So anyways, that's a whole other discussion. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I created the background with the stencil, just to give you a little lesson on that. So you're going to grab your white sheet of paper after you've cut it down. Now I'm going to give you some measurements, what I think you should do, and what I did when I was creating the page. I kind of got my tags in place with my 2 strips. I didn't stick them down. I just laid them on the paper about where they would be. And then I put a few pencil marks kind of around these things. And then that way I knew kind of where they finished. And I laid my stencil over top, and then I did my stenciling, and then I could come back in and lay the tags and stuff back over. I always, like if I lay something temporarily in place, I always take a picture of the placement before I take it off, so that I know exactly where they were to begin with. Because if I remove them without taking a photo, I'm going to forget for sure. I'm trying to read comments. Do you use a laptop to crop your photos? No, I use apps on my phone. Everything's done from my phone. I can say I bought the printer based on Carolyn's recommendations, and I love it too. Lynn and I went back and forth on email a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I'm no expert. I just know what works for me. And every single person does things differently. So, I mean, asking other people for advice is great, but really, you have to do what works best for you. I mean, financially, it's an investment to invest in the printer. Sometimes the printer is not the expensive part. It's the ink. And I will say that about this printer. When I order ink, sometimes my bill is $150. But I need ink to run the printer. The other thing you have to factor in is how often do you print? If you're only printing like once every 6 months, your printer cartridges are going to dry up and they're going to be garbage. You have to be printing at least once a month to keep the printer going, because Otherwise, it's just going to dry up and it's going to be more of a pain than anything else. So there's a lot of things that you have to consider for yourself. And I see Heather's asking about apps. I don't know the names of the apps that I use off the top of my head. I use several different ones. There's tons of apps out there that are free for you to use depending on what phone you have. And just choose the ones that have collages in them that work for you. You know, a lot of them are free and they do have in-app purchases, meaning that not everything is free in the app, but there might be things in one app that you like and then something in another app that you like. But just go and do some investigating and see what works for you. I hate when I get in this mood where I start preaching, but honestly, if you really want to do something and you want it to work for you, you kind of have to do some of the investigative work yourself. And I've learned this personally. If somebody says, oh, get that printer, and then you go get it, and then you find out it's really not even anything close to what you want because they do things differently than you do. It's the same thing with tools. Like I can sit here and do a Facebook Live. Well, let's take the rulers, for instance. I'm going to tell you how great these rulers are. They're great quality, and they do exactly what they're supposed to do. But if you don't ever see yourself using a ruler to line something up, you don't need this. So just because I tell you it's great doesn't mean it's the right tool for you. You really have to know what you want to do and what you need to do it. So, you know, as far as the apps go and the printer goes, like there's so many options out there. You really just kind of need to discover what works for you. But I really personally, I love the Epson brand. I think they're great. I would look at, if you want large photos, do their large format printer. And if you don't, I would look at the PictureMate 400. Those are the two that I would recommend. Do I know everything? I don't know. I'm no printer expert, but I know they work for me. Okay, so now we're going to dive in here and we are going to do this background. And I love the background. So I am going to, just because I can, I'm going to measure off of my paper based on my placement. So this may change a bit for you. Now I've lost my ruler again. I don't want my clear ruler. I want my other ruler. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay. So I'm looking at my layout and I'm going to say that I'm going to be placing my stencil in the middle of my paper, and I'm going to put the base of it probably at about 6.5 to 6 3/4 inches on my paper. And I only know that because I've already completed my layout. So that makes it easy. And you are more than welcome to use those measurements as your guide. And then you can place your papers and photos and stuff around that. So I said about 6 3/4 from the top, right? Okay, so let's just see where the base is going to be. So it's going to be kind of in and around there. So I'm not stenciling all the way up to the top of the rays. I'm going to just be stenciling part way up. Sorry, I'm pausing because I'm thinking, okay, the sun starts at about 6 3/4. So I've got this border here, so I'm going to come down just a little bit more, just because I want that to be about in the right spot. So I'm using this T ruler again to make sure I get my stencil straight. I don't want my stencil to be, I think it's straight, but then I start stenciling and I'm like, ooh, it's off to the side, and now my whole layout is wonky. So I'm just going to get some tape to pop that into place. And you will also notice that the edges of where the stencil, the open areas of the stencil are, and the edge of your paper are very close together. So masking off a little bit might be helpful. I'm just going to put a couple pieces of tape just to hold this still while I'm wiggling around the brushes to stencil. Okay, so not like heavily taped down. And then I'm going to grab a piece of printer paper. Actually, I'm not going to grab printer paper. I always tear up like scrap paper like this. And I'm just going to slip a piece of paper underneath the bottom edge here in case I go over the edge of the stencil. And then I'll shuffle them around if needed. So this is actually very easy stenciling. If you're using oxidings, it's super easy to blend. So I'm going to use the Squeezed Lemonade. I'm just going to ink up my brush, and I'm just going to dab off just a little bit. And I'm just going to start inking. So I want the bulk of my color to be here, and then it'll fade out as I stencil. So I'm going to go ahead and start right in the semicircle of my stencil. Okay, so that part is done. And then I'm going to start, you know, kind of moving out from there. So the heaviest concentration of ink is going to be at the base, right in here, and then it's going to fade out. So now I'm going to ink my brush less. Now, because this part of the stencil is linear, if you find you're swirling around and those things are moving, you can brush out like this in the same direction as the rays, and it'll give you the same effect. You're going to have to build up your ink a little bit, but it's pretty easy to do. I'm just sort of holding the stencil down. They don't move too much, but they do move a little bit. So I'm just kind of putting my hand there so that it doesn't wiggle around too much. But these oxide inks, they just go on like butter. I forget how great they are until I start using them again, and then I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm watching that I don't get too close to the edge and end up with a very straight line. I don't want that type of look. I want something that just sort of fades out a little bit. Sorry for my arm. Just gonna tuck my paper under there again. Okay, so it's going to be something like that. So now we're just going to lift off the stencil, and you get this amazing sunshine. So now is when I would go in and do my splattering. Okay, so I can demo that really quick. Now it does look very small on this piece of paper, but it is exactly the same as this here. But when you add in all the other elements, all of a sudden it doesn't end up being, you know, that sort of boxy looking sun that you see on the demo piece that I'm working on here, because everything kind of blends in together, which is the whole goal. All right, so I'm going to grab, I just have to grab a little bit of water. I did not grab that ahead. I have a little bowl, just this little bowl that I'm going to just put a tiny bit of water in. Just be 1 second. So it's just a splash. So if you guys could see my craft room right now, you'd laugh. I have a nice office chair, and behind me on the office chair is my 20-pound cat that he has climbed up here, and he's sound asleep. So I'm now sitting on the 4 inches of the chair that he has given me to sit on. My husband thinks I'm crazy. He says, why don't you just kick him out? Well, because he's 14 years old and he's having a nap. So he's sound asleep on my chair. And I get 4 whole inches. Sorry, I just grabbed a drink. Okay, so now I'm going to grab the white ink, and I'm just going to give it a little shake. So inside there is a whole big pot of white ink. So that is what we're going to be using. So I'm just going to dip my brush in just to get the bristles damp. And I'm actually just brushing it off on a microfiber cloth just off to the side. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to pick up some ink. And then I'm just going to start tapping. And the higher up you hold it from your paper, the smaller the dots will be. But I don't mind a nice concentration of dots. Now this stuff does splatter everywhere. My desk blotter is all covered in it. And I'm just going to pull it up closer so you can see what I've done. Amanda, you'll be very happy with the splatter I just put on there because I think that was better than my original. Okay, so I'm just going to set my paintbrush over here, and I'll just hold this up so you can see up close what that splattering looks like. Does that not look amazing? So I'm not going to use a heat tool or anything on here. I'm just going to set this paper aside and let it dry naturally on its own. That's the best option if you can do it that way. because that way it will dry just perfectly. If you can't, you can hit it with the heat tool. Sometimes in our videos we have to do that just because we want to show the next thing. And then I'm just going to do a little demo on the stitching. So I'm just going to grab a scrap piece of cardstock and I'm going to blend a little bit of the stencil on it so that you can see my process. Okay, so here's a scrap. Okay, so you can see that I've already used this for something, but we're just going to grab the stencil here. And I'm not too concerned about how the stencil actually looks, but I just want to get some ink on here so I can share with you how I decided how to pierce my holes. So I'm just going to do quickly one section so that we can, whoa. So that's what I mean about, you know, if the rays are moving on you, you can just take your brush and you just blend out and eventually you'll build up lots of color. Or you can just kind of hold it in place and then they don't move at all. You could put more tape down too. You can also use pixie spray, but just to give you an idea. Okay, so let's take this off. So now we've got the rays. So see, this stencil is really fun. Even if you don't use this part, you can just use that. So cool. I love it. Okay, so my process for making the rays. So the reason I say a clear ruler, because you want to be able to see through the ruler and know where it is that you are actually going to place your holes. So I always pierce on a foam mat. The reason being is when you're piercing, you have to pierce into something. Otherwise, you're just going to hit your desk and it's not going to go anywhere. And that's not very helpful. So I use a piercing tool and I'm using a clear ruler because that way I can see where the yellow is on this side and this side. And you want to kind of be right in the middle. And the reason you want to use a ruler is for the measurements. So you want your holes to be equal distance apart. So I'm starting at the base of, oops, I'm not on the right angle here. There we go. I'm starting at the base of where the ray starts and I sort of staggered how far they come out. So the shorter ones don't come out as far and then I kind of went up further. And even if they're at different intervals, I think it'll look totally fine. I didn't measure at all. I just sort of eyeballed, you know, where I wanted to stop and start. And you can go every 1/4 inch, but I went every 1/8 of an inch. So that makes the stitching much tighter. Just for this demo, I'm going to go every 1/4 just so you can see it better. But I would do, in my opinion, 3 strands and do it every 1/8 of an inch. And I'm only going to just do a few here just so you can see. Okay, so you can see how the lines are just going to kind of go right up the middle. And then to actually do the stitching, it's just called a back stitch, and it's very, very simple to do. I don't do anything too fancy when I do my stitching. If you really want to see some fancy stitching, you should tune in to Paige Evans. She does a lot of stitching on her pages. And wow, she does some pretty awesome things. I know there's one stitch that they use quite a bit. I would like to try it. I think it's called a chain stitch. These are all stitches like you use in embroidery and cross stitching and stuff like that. So 3 strands of floss. Oh, see, on my last video that I demoed the stitching, I actually pre-threaded the needles because sometimes it takes me a while to hit that hole, but I got it right away. Okay, so I'm just coming in from the back, and I don't knot my thread. I just use either score tape or these little sticky tabs to stick my ends down, and I just don't take the backing off. So that way there's no bulk. So you can grab a little tab. Right now I'll just kind of hold it. So you're going to come up one hole and go down the next, and then you're going to come up the next. That's how you kind of get started. And then it's just going to be a loop. So once I come up, I go down the last one and then up the next one. And then down the last one, and then up the next one, and so on and so on. And so if your thread runs out partway through, that's no big deal. You just stop and start in with another piece, and then you just tie the end down at the back. So that's kind of how you're going to do your stitching. And I just went in between all of the rays. You don't have to go all the way over here, depending on where your photos are placed. But yeah, they just go in between all the rays. So that's how I did that. Okay, I think I have covered everything. I just want to remind you again that the kits are now going to go up after the video. When I sign off here, we'll populate that category. You can go in and order the bundles. They will not be ready for pickup or shipping until Tuesday, October 3rd, and they are limited. So I know not everyone can watch the video during the day because you're at work and other things, but don't wait too long before you order, because it will definitely sell out within the month, and then they'll be gone, and we can't make any more. We're moving on to other things. So yeah, so I'm glad I was able to get this video in. Normally we don't do the videos until the week after Click and Save, but I'm going to be leaving, and I wanted to make sure that we got this out there before I left, because I will not be back till like the middle week of October, and that would be very late. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're back watching it on replay because you're doing your layout, I hope you have fun creating, and we will talk to you soon.